Are you talking about the Southerners telling on
blacks in prison?
blacks? It happened.
Acting as if the homies would be allowed to snitch, they're not going to give you no chances, dog. You better have your pistol on you, dog. You better have something. You better have your homeboys deep, dog, because when they catch you, dog, they're going to air you out.
Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. Let's get straight to that intro. Welcome back to the channel, and if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays think kicking, and I appreciate the support. I'm very humbled by it. So wow, BFD had a lot to say on No Jumper, man. And you know, I got to give respect where respect's due. The Vato pulled up to No Jumper. He's not the first Norteno to go down south, and I'm sure he's not the last, but he sure made it a rocky road. No chocolate, right? For the next Norteños that try to go to Los Angeles, because some of the things he said, some of the disrespectful, derogatory terms he used, which I know come natural from an individual like himself, shouldn't have been said, right? But who am I to say he can and can't say? I don't speak for that man. That man said what he said. He's going to stand on principle. It is what it is. But he said something that's alarming, something that's internet folklore, something that was once put out there by a brother, man, a rapper. I believe his name was BG Knockout, that once said many years ago, and this debate has been going on the internet for years and years and years, and it caused a lot of friction and division between brothers, man, and Southerners, right? And that was that Southerners, Southside, the Southern Raza, Sureños, were allowed to snitch on other group segments, in particular brothers, right? While in prison, while in the California Department of Corrections, and even on the streets. I'm here to tell you, I'm going to go ahead and debunk that now. BFD reiterated that when asked by Adam22, right, on the No Jumper podcast. And of course, Adam with his antagonizing questions, right, with the question, his investigative reporting, when asking that question, which I don't even know why that question was brought up, why Adam was even caring to speak in a derogatory term towards Southerners or question Southsiders after he's had so many of them on his podcast and has been so respectful to them when he's face-to-face with them. But he asks the question, are Southerners allowed to tell on other group segments while incarcerated? To which BFD answers, right? BFD says, yes. Now, I don't know where he gets that from, because I've been locked up since the age of 11, 12, 13, 14. The list can go on and on and on, right? With Southsiders. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is a very vicious group. It is a very well-respected and feared and vicious group in prison, just like Norteños, just like Crips, just like Bloods, just like Woods, brother, just like everybody, right? And the last thing any group segment incarcerated is going to be allowed to do is tell on anybody. I don't care if it's your enemy. I don't care if you hate that man. I don't care if that man put some vicious pipe like Jason Love did on Adam's wife. I don't care if they did that to you. You are not in any form or fashion allowed to tell on the next man. You need to square up. You need to go out there. You need to handle your business. You need to get off where you're mad at. There's been much blood on the ground that screams out. There's been a lot of guerra and war over smaller things, $5 debts, a paper, all kinds of shit that's happened in prison. And you mean to sit there and tell me that Southsiders, one of the most violent, respected, and vicious groups in prison, is allowed to tell on other people without repercussions from their own? We're talking about guys that can't even go to the yard without creases. We're talking about guys that are going at it with their own people continuously and constantly over reglas and different things. So you mean to tell me dudes get aired out, holed out, airlifted off the yard on a DP, on just a chequeada? Because that's how it goes down for the Southerners. They'll stab each other. That's their DP, right? Ours as Norteños back in the days was writing a fucking essay or getting put on frontline status or a few other various things, right? These guys will air each other out. Holes, big holes, for small infractions, for the most minute disrespect. But you mean to sit there and tell me that they're allowed to tell on other groups. I call bullshit. I've called bullshit from the beginning, and that's a myth. Okay, I'm not here to protect the Southerners. They could do a whole lot of protecting themselves. They're deep enough. There's plenty of them, right? But I will sit here and say, on an individual basis, yes, every group segment has people that have told. 100% facts, right? On other group segments, 100% facts, right? People that are just not, they're ready to get the fuck on, and they say, you know what, fuck it, I'm telling on everybody, the whole yard, right? It's happened. Southerners have done it. Northerners have done it. Blacks have done it. Whites have done it. Everyone's done it. But as far as one of the reglas being allowed to tell on another group and being able to go function back on that yard without a snitch jacket, come on now, man. Come on now. You just got mossed, right? I don't understand why BFD wants to continue that narrative. I understand he has a deep hatred and a deep animosity towards the Southern group. And I get it. As a Norteno, we are laced to protect our own, stand firm on our beliefs. Norte before everything. I get that. But to sit there and blatantly follow a narrative of a question asked by a dude who's a civilian and not even involved in the gang politics, who is in association with gangsters, but has already said in many times that if he ever gets questioned, he's going to tell on everybody because he's a civilian. When he asked that question, the truth should have been, the truth shall set you free. The truth should have been put out there, especially for someone, the character or the respect level of someone like BFD, who's well respected in Northern California from a lot of the youngsters in Sacramento, right? It seems like he would have said that, but that wasn't the case. He actually said it's happened. Now, did he mean, am I taking it out of context? Are we all taking it out of context? Did he mean, yes, the telling has happened in the past? Or did he absolutely mean they are allowed to tell on other people? Because I'm going to tell you right now, they are not, right? You could believe me if you want, or you could believe people who have an animosity and a beef or a bone to pick with the other group. See, one thing I learned about was respect. Even if it's your enemy, even if you don't like them, even if they've shed your blood or you shed theirs, even if you know, man, they'll get off where you're mad at and it's on site, green light, red light, all that, you still don't, as a man with your character, lie on the next group. You treat them with the utmost respect. How are you going to sit there and program on the yard with them, go play handball, go kick it on the yard, all that, softball tournaments, basketball, handball, all that, and then get out and say they're allowed to tell? Because if you're doing that, if there is an end to hostilities, if Norteños and Southsiders are literally on those yards as they are right now, with no disrespect, showing each other fucking respect in the mornings, buenos dias, all that shit, which we know is happening for facts, right? People have got out and said, man, it's a peaceful atmosphere. Everyone's handling their own basura, their own garbage. They're doing their thing, right? You're not seeing a lot of North and South incidences like the past. So you're trying to tell me, BFD, that if Norteños are in there functioning like that with Southerners, then they're condoning the fact that Southerners are allowed to snitch on other groups, right? And wouldn't that be like kind of counterproductive? Because that'd be saying, okay, man, even though we know these guys are allowed to tell on us or tell on other group segments, blacks, everybody, we're going to be cool with them. Wouldn't that be a situation where everyone on the yard is like, these guys are all snitches. They're allowed to tell on us. We got to get rid of them. They can't be here and watch us conduct business. We can't conduct business with them. If we get busted, they're going to just tell on us, right? So I don't believe that. That's a perfect example of I don't believe that Southerners are allowed to just tell on anyone, because I've functioned around them. I've done business with them. I've been on yards, right? And I've seen them whack each other, remove each other, do all that good stuff, right? Or bad stuff, however you want to look at it, behind fucking infractions that would trip people out. I've seen Norteños do the same thing. Let's be honest and let's be real here. It sounds like a bunch of hate, and it sounds like a bunch of fucking a narrative that's being painted by groups that feel some type of way about the Southerners. The disrespect is absolutely real. Now you got Neil Dazad, a black Southerner, man, who I could honestly say he's done his time. I don't know his background, man, 100% blood, right? I don't know what's going on. I know there's a lot that's put out there on the internet about that character. I know that back in the days, man, me and him didn't see eye to eye based on some of my videos and some of his videos. And I thought I shut down that shop a long time ago. But he's feeling some type of way. He's one of those guys, man. He's boisterous. His voice wants to hear his voice, right? And so he's actually making threats online to BFD and to Thompson, these cats. He feels disrespected. As many times as that man has pulled up to Northern California, and he has, because I remember him doing a video, even in my city, right? He was passing through. He was way out in the outskirts, and he did a video at a gas station, the Valero gas station. And I don't know if that was directed at me or just directed at Norteños in particular. I don't care one way or the other. You can go fill up your gas wherever you want. Nowadays, man, just tell me where it's cheap, brother, and I'll be there with you. But he has a lot to say, and he takes to the internet to make threats and to say that people are going to pull out weaponry and get off on BFD. Look, BFD is definitely making it a rocky road for other Norteños to be productive in the city of Los Angeles, to go out there and do business. When you continue to disrespect, when you make light of things, when you basically, and I don't want to sit here and call that dude a liar, but that was a lie. Okay, that was someone who's done as much time as BFD did, and someone who's really been around, and I respect it. I respect it, man. No disrespect, but someone who's actually been in the mix should know better. You should know, having paroled recently and been on yards with Southsiders, doing time, not counterproductively, but functioning alongside them on that yard respectfully. If you did any of that, if you had any interaction with the Southsider or Buenos Dias on a respectful tip, anything, why would you do that if they're allowed to tell on you or in a group? That would make them rats, right? It just makes no sense why people continue to paint this narrative. Look, man, we understand Southsiders are the deepest group. We understand they control most of the yards in California based on numbers, manpower, right? So there's an understanding that's given, and it's real. You know, we understand that Norteños always have to be on their toes, and that's why the máquina listo. That's why everyone's always ready to go. That's why everyone is on tip-top shape, ready. And that's because of the numbers game. Because we all know Southerners outnumber in the California prison system about 5-1 Northerners. That's always been known. You're laced that way. You're educated that way. And you're told by whoever fucking educates you, man, and laces you up, the propaganda that is fed to you to hate these men. And I'm sure they're told on their side, whether they care or not, you're inconsequential unless you're an upstater, and then you hate Northerners, right? Because you deal with them every day, and Northerners deal with them every day. But for BFD to go on No Jumper and fall into Adam's narrative, a question that should have never been asked. You don't ask questions about Southsiders if they're not present. You don't ask questions that paints a bad light on them. You know, I don't understand how Adam continues to get away with this fucking bullshit, but he does, and people continue to pull up. It is what it is, right? But to sit there and agree and say, yes, you know, it's happened. Telling has happened. Every group segment has done it. But to say that they're allowed to do it, that nothing will come of it, that's false. That's not real. I've told people over and over again, Southsiders are not allowed to tell on anyone and not walk the yard. That's not going to happen, right? You know, I understand BFD wants to be the self-proclaimed king of the Norteños, basically the voice for the voices, the homie that's out there, that's recognized as being that one, right? It's going to take over the game. But the way he's doing it in Southern California, being disrespectful, that ain't going to cut it. That ain't, especially if you pulled off a yard with them cats. Let me explain to you what happens. When you talk to Southerners on the yard, which I'm sure he did, right? Maybe even befriended some, right? Now you're out and you think that they're not watching in prison and like, damn, homie, this cat's crazy. Now he's down there disrespecting and doing this and that. He wasn't doing that in here. He was decent, man. He was a respectful dude. That's why he got the respect that he got out there, because of what he did in here, man. I'm not saying BFD was a sucker in prison. I'm not saying none of that. I'm saying I'm sure he was well respected, but to get out and move the way he's moving, he wants to be like Gotos or something, right? You see, when Gotos went to Southern California, how did he do it? How did he do it? With respect, showed love, spread fucking game to everyone, gave game. He was moving the right way, the correct way. If any Norteño or Northerner from Northern California should be recognized as someone who was doing it with the right approach and respect, it needs to be him. But instead, there's a smear and a slander campaign going on with him at the present moment for whatever the reason may be. I don't know the whole motherfucking gist of it, the whole details on it, right? Because I've never asked, because to me, honestly, man, I think it's bullshit, but whatever. But to sit there with Adam, a civilian, and him being allowed to ask questions, I would have laid the demo down immediately and been like, hey, bro, you don't speak on my enemies. Those are my enemies. They have nothing to do with you, especially you residing in Southern California. Like, bro, don't try to get me caught up, because there's dudes in prison that are watching. They're like, damn, there was none of that energy. Or they're saying, damn, man, Southsiders are saying, damn, this dude continues to disrespect, and even now painting us as snitches in a bad light. That's why people like Neil Dezada are upset. That's why people are upset, and they're making threats and saying what they say. Now, Neil Dezada shouldn't do that. He knows being locked up. He needs to be held accountable for his actions too. He needs to shut the fuck up and stop putting out there, because if something happens, then he's going to get caught up. But I know, dog, he don't care, dog. But let me tell you, dog, you're going to care when they come cuff you up, because you're making these threats. You're trying to pump the youngsters up to do something you don't feel like doing. There's a lot of that goes on, pumping people up. Is BFD causing friction and division between North and South? He is, but it's already been there. But you could do it on a real gangster tip and say, we don't fuck with them dudes. They're not like us. It's a different swag, a different stilo. We were raised different. There's all that's fine and dandy, but to sit there and say, yeah, they're allowed to tell on people. Come on now, man. Stop it. You know, I've been around a lot of Southerners in my life, and I'm very outspoken. You guys know me. I keep it real as fuck. I'll say it straight up. I'd be like, fuck that, right? But it's not, it's untrue. It's not real. They've never been you trying to tell me these dudes get whacked over a fucking paper and all kinds of different small, minute shit, but they're allowed to tell on a black, like literally go in there and tell and get paperwork that says that they told on someone, pointed fingers, and nothing happens. Yet you got people running around on the internet questioning ex-Southerners, current Southerners, even Northerners, right? Questioning them, saying, oh, this fool debriefed, or this fool ratted, or this fool told. Well, they're allowed to, right? So why are you so upset? If that's part of the rules and you're allowed to, then why are you mad? Why are you mad? Why you mad? Because anyone with common sense and any gangster in them understands and knows that's not the way it goes down. Not whatsoever. BFD knows better, man. I think his hatred, his animosity towards the other side, towards the Southerners, man, sometimes clouds his judgment. But I understand. I understand, man. You know, he was raised that way. The hatred is instilled in him. You know, I used to say back in the days, even concerning that Valto Bozo, I used to say, damn, he must have got victimized by Northerners. Something bad must have happened to him. But I just think he was in an area around dudes and just has a hatred for the unknown. There's a lot of that, man. I remember the first Southsiders I encountered while incarcerated. A lot of them were like looking at me all crazy, like I was an alien or something, because they had never seen a Norteno, and a lot of them hated me. And I always wondered why they hated me. Especially dudes from like the 805, dudes from like Bakersfield and shit. Bakersfield used to be the 805 area. They hated Nortenos. And I understood it was because the ways they were being treated by other Southsiders for being further up north. Also, their interaction with Vatos from Delano and Tulare County and Kings County and all that. They just hated that shit, right? So they had a reasoning behind it. There was some actual hatred going on there. And Nortenos, I understand them fighting with upstaters. There's a hatred there. But still, to sit there and paint a narrative and fall into that conundrum of a lie and say that Southsiders are allowed to tell, well, that's just a lie right there. You know, again, like I said, if that's the case, if that was the truth, that would have been put out there years and years and years ago by real righteous Nortenos. Do you understand that Nortenos would have been saying that? As much as Nortenos and Southsiders beef on the internet, don't you think every time a Norteno got online, he would have been like, man, shut up, man. You guys are allowed to tell on fools. Stop it. Don't you think that would have been happening? Because it never happens. I'm not saying dudes don't tell. Every group segment has people that tell, right? What I'm here to say is it's not condoned nor allowed by any group, period. Why do they say snitches get stitches? That goes for all groups. Like I said, if you're on the yard in this end of hostilities, functioning alongside North and South and doing their thing, coming together, man, to go against non-actives and doing whatever they're doing, that's their business, their politics, right? We're not going to get into all that, but if doing whatever they're doing, do you honestly believe as a functioning Norteño that you would be able to fight back to back with the Southsider against opposition, knowing that them dudes are able to tell and it's allowed? No, then that would be a no good yard, right? Because no one's going to walk the yard with snitches or weirdos, right? They wouldn't be on general population. They'd have their own yards, right? Let's just be real here. And Adam, man, he's really the villain in this shit. BFD's gonna say what he says. He's mad at Southsiders for whatever his reasons are. He has his right, his prerogative, like a Bobby Brown song, to say what he wants to say. But Adam, to even ask that question, the fuck does this guy think he is, man? Trying to create more division between the raza. If you don't see it, man, here, put these on. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. I'm glad that I was able to enlighten you with some real clecha. I'm giving game, not giving up game. Look, the facts are no. Southsiders are not allowed to tell on people and still walk the yard. It is not allowed. That's the fucking God's honest truth, right? This video is sponsored by Vario Liquors out there in Turlock, California. If you're ever in the area, go pull up and get you something cold to drink. Also, by Sticks and Stones Yard Service in Tucson, Arizona. Once you Google and look the homeboy up, man, go support the small local raza business. If you have any questions, if you don't believe what I'm saying is true, and I know there's going to be people in the messages, in the comments, they are, then show some paperwork when they did. And that's for reals. Bang, bang.